Recording Secretary. Members of council with us, Madam Mayor Linda Ackley, Mayor Pro Tem Ryan Woods, council members John Osnick, Mindy Fernandez, Bennett Lublin, and Casey Ambrose. City staff with us tonight, to my right, Finance Director Ms. Chelsea Pesta, Deputy Public Safety Director and Interim Fire Chief Paul Shakinis, DPW Superintendent Dan Ladd, and Deputy Fire Chief Jason Gonzalez. Madam Mayor, you may call the meeting to order.
Thank you very much. I would also like to welcome everyone here in the audience and those Zooming. And at this time, I would ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you remain standing, we'll have Ryan Woods, our Mayor Pro Tem, do the invocation.
Dear God, we ask you to preside over this meeting tonight. Help us to act as a unified team to open our hearts and make fair and just decisions that improve our community. Also, may we come together as a whole with the courage and strength to show kindness and compassion as we collectively work towards the betterment of humanity. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, do we have any requests for agenda changes? Anyone? Okay. Okay, it looks like we have a presentation tonight.
Madam Mayor, and roll call?
Oh, would you like to do a roll call?
Why not?
Sure, let's do roll call. I'm sorry.
Ackley,
Here.
Ambrose,
Here.
Fernandez,
Here.
Locke, Lublin,
Here.
Osnick,
Here.
Woods.
Here.
Madam Mayor, we have received communication from Councilmember Locke. She had a prior commitment this evening and won't be able to attend.
Could I please have a motion to excuse?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Was a second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we do have a quorum, and I apologize for skipping over that. Again, since we're on the right track now, are there any requests for agenda changes? Okay, and we do have a presentation.
Chief, will you introduce the presenters?
Absolutely, sir. Good evening, council. I'd like to introduce Mike Duchesne from Flock Safety. Come on up. So Flock Safety Group is a company that's based out of Atlanta, Georgia. They have become a larger name in law enforcement and helping with investigations. Their product is a LPR, license plate reader, that is in every community surrounding us, actually, and is a huge investigative tool that we're asking you guys to take a look at it. I know you had a brief presentation last month. Hope to dive into a little bit further and answer any unanswered questions that you have. So, Mike?
Yep. Appreciate it. So, nice to meet everyone again. To walk through, have a little slide deck that I think we'll be able to pull up and just kind of walk through some of the things we may cover that we talked about a little bit last month, but some of them kind of dive a little bit deeper in. If you can go ahead and go to the next slide. First thing I want to do, I want to play this quick little video. It's from a medium-sized town in Kentucky, Elizabethtown, about 30,000 population. So a little bit bigger than Walled Lake, but just kind of show a little bit about how they've adopted Flock into their community and how it's benefited them. So if we can play that.
In 2024, if you're not embracing technology, you're probably falling behind in solving crimes. Well, we have a variety of factors that kind of drive the crime down here in Hardin County, specifically E-Town. First of which is I-65. The proximity to an interstate means you're going to have transient crime, and we do. But then we also have a melting pot of a very robust industrial park. We have Fort Knox, military installation just a few miles to our north, the new battery plant that's going about 5 miles south of us. So we have become this kind of a hot spot right now with a big population boom here lately. we pride ourselves on community policing, community-oriented policing. We're involved in our school systems, and we just try to make sure that not only are we involved, but that we're responsible members of our community as well. In nearly 30 years of law enforcement, I strongly believe this is the best piece of technology to come out as a tool to help law enforcement. Now you have 24/7 ability to look in that area, wherever you've deployed that camera. So it just gives us that real-time intelligence, actionable intelligence all the time instead of when that particular officer is assigned to it. Well, we got the call, obviously, from a father that was frantic. His car was just stolen. His 7-month-old was in it. We sent our intelligence analyst to our police department to begin to check our flock database, to look, and that's when we were able to find the actual registered owner and that car, and we pushed out on our social media platforms, the actual picture of the stolen vehicle. You know, and I think the best description is you kind of put up that virtual fence so that with the flock technology, had that car, once we were made aware of the license plate number, had it left our jurisdiction, we would have been made aware of that through flock. Like I said, within less than an hour, we were able to reunite that baby with its mother. We were very, very fortunate that the technology helped us locate that car. One of our city council members said it best. I think the mayor had asked me at the following council meeting. He said, you know, we've recovered one child that was taken. It's worth what we've spent on these cameras this year. And, you know, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's what you do this for, is hopefully to have an impact to prevent people from being victims of crimes, but when they are a victim of a crime, to be able to make sure that you reunite families. When you look at the concerns that many people have, a lot of their concerns are based on misinformation. They just don't realize what these cameras are, more importantly, probably what they are not. And they're not facial recognition, and they're not telling us where you are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As a matter of fact, if you're not engaged in any criminal activity, these cameras don't discriminate. They're just cameras that read the license plates. And that's open source information. You don't have these privacy concerns, legitimate privacy concerns, with your tag data because they're out there for everybody to see on a daily basis anyway. A byproduct of that transparency is also that it can work as a deterrent. It can tell people that are looking to come to your area and victimize the citizens that you're responsible to protect, hey, they are up on their technology. They're watching people coming to commit crimes in that jurisdiction. Maybe we want to stay away from there.
You can go ahead and skip
school
on.
system
So
came along and
the end of
they
this
came
video,
along.
it's on YouTube if
That's
you want to
really
go
what-
on and see the end of it. They talk a little bit how they've integrated the school system into the network as well to where they can share and collaborate with the school system. But one thing that he touched on there was really important to neighboring jurisdictions that have the flock technology. You guys can work in tandem with each other to share network access. And so if a vehicle comes into Walled Lake and then leaves, it could hit on one of your cameras. And I think Councilmember Locke asked last week who has these cameras around. And I'll show on the next slide, you know, kind of a quick snapshot. So these are all, as of it stands today, it's missing a few of them actually. But these are, I mean, a lot of your neighbors, right? Wolverine Lake, White Lake, Novi, Milford, West Bloomfield are all currently utilizing the flock technology. So Chief Thompson touched on, right, what is the technology? We talked a little bit about that last time. It's not facial recognition. It's not tied to any Carfax or DMV data. It's stored for 30 days, and the police department owns that data. We don't own that data. We won't sell that data, so it's not going to get distributed to anyone else. If you go to the next slide, or go back 2 slides, please. So what I have here, before you hit play, if you don't mind, each individual officer has a login. And so when they go, they actually have a login that's unique to them. Once they go into the software, this is what the home screen will look like. And I'll kind of walk you through how would they use it on a daily basis, right? Or, you know, weekly or whenever they would need to use it. So I think right in the middle is a play button there. Perfect. So this is what the home screen looks like, right? It's blank. There's no images that pull up. The only time images pull up is when you actually conduct a search, or if you get an alert on a wanted vehicle from like NCIC or Amber Alert or anything that comes into your city. So you see up at the top, you have search and alerts. Those are the 2 main tabs that officers would use. And then on the left, similar to like searching on Amazon, you have all these filterable options to be able to conduct a search and help filter down that objective evidence. So I'm circling the cameras here, so that's you have access to your cameras in the city, as well as you can share network access with neighboring agencies. You can click on the camera map to be able to pull up cameras in your network and search by individual cameras or search by all the cameras if you're looking for a wanted vehicle. If the vehicle has a license plate, you can obviously click that toggle there and search by vehicles with license plates. Sometimes people who commit crime take their license plate off their vehicle, and that's where Flock really comes into play. We take an image of the back of the vehicle, so it captures the license plate, but it's also capturing unique vehicle fingerprint technology that's proprietary to Flock, such as the make of the vehicle, the color of the vehicle. So even if they don't have a license plate, we can actually help find that vehicle and taper down that objective evidence. So I'll go through kind of display. We currently have all 50 states as well as Mexico and Canada in here as well. Most of your major makes of vehicles are on there. I know we're working on incorporating some of the newer brands like Rivian and other ones in our database as well to be able to search by those vehicles. Outside of the color as well, you'll see the next tab is identifiers. So we can actually drill down to, does that vehicle have a top rack? Does it have a toolbox in the back of it? If a witness only gets a few different descriptive features, you can put all of that in there. Up at the top, this is where you can search by date and time to set your range. And so you'll see you can go back again, only 30 days of objective images there. So clicking through those, we also have some preset filters if you want to just look quickly between the last 12 to 48 hours. But what's unique is, just scenario here. If witness calls and says their home was broken into or something was taken from their house from the time they left for work between the time they came home from lunch, and it happened last Friday. So they would go in here, they would choose the Friday the 15th and select those date ranges between, say, 8:30 and noon, and they would go over to hit the search now button. If you try to hit that without putting anything in that search reason right there, nothing's going to pull up. The reason we do that is there needs to be a case number tied to that, right? It's because we have that individual login for that user as well as a case number. Now you create that auditable trail to where you can see why are they looking up these images, right? It's not just looking them up for fun. So they put in that case number, and you can see from that, in that time span with their camera network, they have 5,700 images. It's a lot of images for officers and investigators to go through to try to find that suspect vehicle. So in this scenario, if they think this is a vehicle in question, they could click on that image and it would zoom that image in. They could see the license plate. Maybe that's a vehicle, maybe it's not. So they can go back, and there's a few features at the bottom in terms of downloading the images, saving the images, and kind of recording that. Or they could, in this scenario, maybe they didn't have a license plate, but the witness called and said, I know that it was a red pickup truck. My neighbor told me that they saw a red pickup truck come into my driveway at that time frame. So what they could do is they could choose pickup truck and they could choose the color and select those two features. And just by selecting by those two, we go from 5,700 images down to just 65 images. So you're going to save precious time that investigators would have to filter through hours of images to try to find that vehicle. So from this, you can look through the images that correspond with that search and maybe zoom into that image there, and you can see some of the items that that witness described was maybe taken from their house or taken from their car, and now you have found your suspect vehicle. So that's just kind of how the technology works on a day-to-day basis from the officers, either on patrol or investigations. But again, you can tag that and going over from the search function over to the alerts function. So again, we integrate with NCIC. So if you have stolen vehicles, stolen plates, Amber Alerts, this is going to give officers a really proactive approach to stopping crime. So an alert's going to come across. So I know this isn't the red pickup truck here, but this is what an alert would look like. You'd have an image of the license plate zoomed in, you'd have an image of that vehicle, and then the location of that camera where it was hit, And then if it hits on another camera, either in Walled Lake or maybe in, Wixom or White Lake, you would get that notification and be able to stop that vehicle. Any questions about that? I know we talked a little bit about the technology last time. I want to give you a little bit of insight about how the software actually works and how it would be beneficial for officers.
I have one question.
Yeah.
This technology does not register speeds of the vehicle. This is just identifying vehicles.
Yep, great question. Yep, it's not capturing any, it's not traffic tickets, it's not doing any speed enforcement.
So I don't know if council, when the video was playing at the southern community, the microphone, or I'm sorry, the solar panel and the camera is about the size of a football. That's what it looks like. So, for example, our partners in Wolverine Lake, you come up South Commerce to Wolverine Drive. You can't come to Wolverine Lake on that side without going past the flock camera. They have one at Wolverine Drive. They have one at between Indian Wood and Oakshade, and then they have one just north of Glengarry on that side of their community. So the nice part about this is we don't have to pay for all of these. Our community, our other partners are putting them up. They're on Beck Road, they're on Haggerty. Like I said, every community except for Commerce Township right now around us has flock cameras. I'll give you a great example of how they would have helped us. In January, we had a shooting that occurred in one of our plazas. We've already talked about that. We still to this date have not located the suspect in that case. We're not going to. They're not going to talk. Everybody's got lawyers, doesn't want to talk. We've asked the prosecutor to charge the one party we found started all of it. That's going to probably be a misdemeanor charge if it's authorized. If we had a flock camera on Maple Road, we would know who this person was. We wouldn't need anybody's cooperation. The technology would be there. That's just one case of how flock would help us do our job. Our police officers do a great job. They're out there. For example, the Beanie case we just had here recently, I think some of you are aware of it. Officer McQueen was responsible for helping that. But they can't be everywhere at all times. They stop to go to the bathroom. They stop to have lunch. They're on the north side of town when something's going on the south side of town. Flock cameras don't take a break. They don't call in sick. They're a great piece of technology.
So how many would we be locating in the city?
So we worked with Flock a little bit to see. Ideally, what we'd like to see to start with, which we think would, at a minimum, would cover the city, are 4 cameras. Now, I'd like to see, and again, we'll work with our Flock partners, but one on each end of Maple and one end of each end of Pontiac Trail as cars are coming into their communities. Those are our main thoroughfares. Obviously Decker and Walled Lake Drive, the one that we possibly could expand to later on. So the next question I'm sure you're gonna ask is, what does it cost? So the first year, each camera costs $3,600. And that includes the camera and the installation. And the year after that, they're $3,000 a piece. So yes, it is a little bit pricey, but again, when we look at the cost of a police officer, have them out there with everything they need to do their job, it's not that expensive.
So there's an annual charge. You buy the camera and then there's an annual charge.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a subscription as a service model. So we do all the permitting, we do all the installation, we take care of all the maintenance on it. So obviously, Michigan solar's great, right? Not all the time, right? So we try to help as best as possible, whether that's outfitting it for the winter time with what we call penguin packs. We also can help put external batteries to help supplement that. And we have a full team of techs to help if a battery is running low, or there's days where we didn't see the sun for 2 weeks, and we want to make sure that you guys have a good experience. So we want to earn your business year after year.
So what's your response time when something happens to one of them?
For what you mean by like an alert,
You
or?
got a camera that goes bad. How long does it take?
Yeah, I mean, it varies, obviously. If we're just talking like weather or anything, what's nice is we can be proactive with it to where we have a team that can monitor the battery health of it and see it before it even gets to 0. If it's getting low, we can put a ticket in to get someone out there to make sure we swap that battery out. So that way it never gets to not functioning. So that's the ultimate goal. Obviously, we have a full team of customer success managers. You have myself, several people that can be reached out to to obviously escalate any situation like that. As Chief mentioned, kind of the strategy standpoint, right, with that price, yes, that's the price that, Walled Lake would pay, and it goes towards those cameras. What you also get with that is access to all those neighbors as well, right? So it's the cost for those cameras, but then you can also share with Wixom, with White Lake, with West Bloomfield, with all those neighboring jurisdictions. So you get access to their neighboring cameras as well.
I'm assuming, Chief, that you've discussed this with your fellow chiefs, fellow officers. It just seems like this just kind of, if all these communities have them, it's just all of a sudden popped up, Wall Lake's even thinking about it, or did we just find out, or what's the?
No, not at all. So I didn't want to be the tip of the spear. So this has happened with most of the communities that came online last year. So obviously it's worked as well as, it's presented tonight. So obviously always trying to keep Walled Lake's dollars first in thought. So we wanted to make sure it was going to be a good product, and everything has been phenomenal that's been reported back.
Okay.
I do have Mike has
Brought a couple of the proposals for the contracts, what it would look like, so you guys can take a look at that as well too.
I do have a question. If a case appears itself after the 30-day mark, is there a way to retrieve that information, or is that gone and wiped from the system?
Yeah, it's gone and wiped from the system. Our retention policy, and we're pretty strict on that,
Okay.
is a 30-day retention policy. There's some companies that do longer. There's some that do less time. It's what we deem is an appropriate amount of time to give the officers the opportunity to solve the crime, but also protect citizens' privacy.
Chief, would you agree that you don't need that information after that 30-day mark? That
We would hope not. And
Okay.
Obviously, looking at everyone's privacy, obviously there has to be a cutoff date. So we would obviously, in 30 days, for most crimes where we believe we've used this or instances, we would be able to retrieve those images.
Okay.
Good question.
The example you provided earlier.
Yeah,
would
absolutely.
be
Got a
perfect.
question. What kind of lane coverage do you have? Lane and a half?
Yep, great question. So our standard Falcon, which is what's in the contract there, is solar powered, and it captures 2 lanes of travel.
2 lanes?
Yep,
Okay.
correct.
So, but that is directional. That is either north, south, east, or west.
Right.
That's
I
not-
checked your website. And it said it lane and a half, so apparently you've upgraded from them.
It's 2 lanes, in the same direction, right? So it's not, in Michigan, we don't have front-facing license plates, so you're not gonna be able to catch, north and south if you place one facing northbound. So it will capture 2 lanes.
So again, not being at the tip of the spear, we've seen what other communities have done, and what they've found is successful is having the flock cameras set up so that they're catching cars coming into town. So in that instance, as someone comes in with a stolen car or one of those key hit items, our officers have time to respond. Because if you had it the other way, where they're leaving, well, obviously if that car comes through and is on the way out, well, we'd be able to pass that information along, but our officers would not be able to respond.
How close are these cameras to the road itself? Are they 5 feet off the road? Are they 10 feet off the road?
Yeah, everyone's a little bit different, so obviously we have to go through the full permitting process to get that approved, whether it's a city, county, or DOT right away.
Okay.
But, I mean, they're gonna be a few feet off the road. There's a certain limit that it can't be too far off to obviously capture the 2 lanes of travel. So I don't know the exact amount of feet that is.
And without finding it within the contract, if it ever does occur that a vehicle strikes the camera, who is responsible for that?
Yep, great question. So when it comes to, things like weather, maintenance, and just overall management of it, Flock is on the hook for that, and we will take care of it. When it comes to anything like vandalism or a vehicle striking it, a lot of times those agencies will then go to the vehicle at fault and try to get that money reallocated from the insurance company to help pay for that. But that's where again, part of that subscription model is we don't want to sell you something and you put it up and hopefully no one hits it, and if they do, you're out. We want to continue to earn your business.
Okay.
So obviously I know council where we had 1 pole struck and another one, 2 poles struck over the weekend, 2 city poles. In the flock poles of the communities that are surrounding us, I'm aware of 1 that's been hit, and that was in Milford Township. And I believe it was fixed within 6 weeks. But obviously there is some liability on our end. if one does get hit. But we think the benefits far outweigh.
Agreed.
Yep. And just to double click on the contracts there, so you'll see the cost per camera is the same year one as is in year two. So our standard contracts are a 2-year contract. The only additional costs you see in year one are what are called the implementation fees. So that covers the permitting and installation costs of us putting a pole into the ground. And that's what the additional $650 is per location on that.
Chief, if I understood you correctly, you said it was going to be $3,600 per camera.
For the first year, correct. So we're
So
looking at-
that's 14,400, right?
We have 7 cameras listed?
On that quote there, yep, on that quote there, there's 7 total cameras.
Okay, that's what I was
Yep.
missing. Okay.
Yep, so
So
you'll see
this quote here is incorrect.
Well,
Well, that's for council to decide. I would recommend going with no less than 4 cameras to really, because the other side of it is if we put 1 camera up and it doesn't achieve what we want it to do, I would recommend to council that 4 is the minimum. Flock is recommending that 7 is what they recommend. I think that's up to council to decide.
What's the recommendation based off of?
Yep, great question. So we have a full dedicated team of what we call solutions consultants. They're all former law enforcement, and they help with kind of the strategy mapping. So they work it with, I have one gentleman that works with me and all of the Michigan agencies I work with here. And so we take a look at not only all of your city's ingress points, but also where neighboring jurisdictions have cameras to make sure we're complementing each other and we're not duplicating certain areas, right? So where there's current gaps of major thoroughfares coming in would cover the majority of those areas. And kind of going back to, that strategy side, if the majority of your ingress points, so points coming into the city are covered, points in West Bloomfield that they cover coming into their city, those are your outbound cameras, right? So that's how you kind of work in tandem with each other. Because they only capture one direction of travel, if you have, from the east side of your city coming, vehicles traveling westbound on say, 14 Mile, then if you had one facing eastbound, that would essentially be a camera going into West Bloomfield, correct? So we just try to make sure that we complement where those would be. So I think the locations we have are, as you mentioned, Pontiac Trail, 14 Mile, Maple. We have coming southbound Decker, and is it Commerce Road as well?
Commerce,
South Commerce,
maybe East Lake.
Yeah,
South Commerce.
Yeah, so I think that's,
Yep.
yeah.
So catching both directions there at the split, as well as Pontiac Trail, you have 14 Mile coming each direction kind of into the city there.
So I don't know if the manager wants me to talk about it a little bit, but where would the money come from? We believe at this point the police department could budget, as ugly as it might be, could bear that cost for up to 4 cameras, obviously depending on council, but I know council member Locke, if am I getting too far out?
I'm sorry, what was your remark?
So Councilmember Locke had suggested that maybe we could take this to the DDA board and recommended that the DDA help us fund some of these things. With the millage passing, they're seeing a bump, so maybe that the DDA could cover the cost. There would be no true increase to the police department on the general fund budget.
Would we need to make that motion, or?
Well, what we'd like to see tonight is council to approve a not to exceed, whether that's 4 cameras, 7 cameras, whatever
Okay.
we feel is best, just so we can get this moving. Because we're looking at about 2 to 3 months for cameras to get up and running before our officers can get access to them. So we'd obviously, if council's willing to tonight, give us a direction as far as,
Chief, did you do the math on a 4-camera proposal?
so I believe 14,400 out of, for the first year.
14.4 was the amount of the cameras.
For the first year, and then the second year was 12,000, so we're talking about $26,400 not to exceed. Am I missing anything? Want to make sure.
Now, that didn't include the 650 professional service.
So 4 cameras would be, 3,000 piece, so $12,000, and then you'd have 4 cameras at the 650 cost there, so it'd be, an additional 2,600, is that correct?
Yeah.
So you'd be 12 plus the 2,600, so 14,600 would be if for 4 cameras first year implemented, and then obviously the 7 is on the contract there if that was the route that you guys went.
The company would approve 4 cameras, since your proposal is different. We got to determine if that's your
second proposal would be for 4 cameras at the price that he was talking about. We're trying to get something approved tonight. We need to know if your side will approve it. You have the authority to approve the 4 camera contract? You, yes.
Yes, yep, I mean, same cost there. You know, there's no difference whether it's 4 or 7. The cost per camera is the same 3,000 per year, and then implementation cost, depending on how many you go with, it's that number times 650. So,
Chief, if you're trying to get a vote from city council, you need to give them a total vote, and their vote could be to give authority to the manager to execute a contract not to, that doesn't exceed whatever the amount you decide on. Looks like there's no reason to have an extra there. There's
Yes,
no,
so council, I would recommend going with the 4 cameras. We can always add on, so that, if council were to approve $26,400 over 2 years, so that would give us 2 years, obviously budget for this year, next year, not to exceed 26,400.
This is a safety, something that has to do with safety, and I would support doing all 7. Let's cover our corners and get it done right. Get it complete. I
It
mean,
also has to do with finances too.
absolutely, but.
Now,
this
if
is
we can get the
somewhere-
DDA to come in and help us with the other 4, the other 3, fine. I mean, just because we just passed a millage, I'm not gonna sit here and say, okay, I'm gonna approve these 7 zip bang here. That's not the way I operate.
I don't have a problem with just doing 4, but I think that doing all of our ingresses and egresses to the city would probably be more effective. But,
Well-
I certainly think it's a great idea, and I fully support it.
Unfortunately, I didn't bring my budget with me tonight,
Well,
and
I would
I
like-
just would be more comfortable with the 4, take Councilmember Locke's recommendation, pass it through onto the DDA, see if they would help us out, even if it's only a portion of the money, come back to council, and we could possibly add the other 3.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I would like to interject and say that I concur with what Councilman Lublin says as far as the 7, but that can be an ultimate. Then that, to give it 1 year with the 4 to start out, get a good feel for how good it works in the city of Walled Lake, how effective it is, and then based upon that, then we can go and just add the 3 in the following year. But for right now, the 4 is sufficient according to the chief, so let's go with the 4 and call it good for tonight. That's well within our range of our budget without stressing it too much. So I would say that let's go with the 4.
Are you open to having the quote for an additional 3 be good for a year?
I'm sorry, one more time?
Are you open for the quote to be good for a year on 3 additional? If we were to choose 4, can we still have the same price
Yeah,
a year
yep.
from now on the last 3?
Yeah, I mean, me personally can't guarantee in a year, that. I don't anticipate any price changes or anything, but I just wouldn't say that. And if you choose to do it for a year and then add on, I mean, anything can be added on to your existing, amount, whether you did an additional 2-year contract, if you did a 1-year contract at that point. So we can, kind of work together and figure out what's best for you guys when and if you add those additional 3.
The Flock system has been out for now several years, right? 4 or 5 years. And I believe there's been one price increase, I'm helping with that, $500 since they've been out. So I don't think they don't seem to be escalating quickly, like some companies get you in and now they got you. I don't believe that's what Flock is doing.
Yeah, we just had a price increase last year, at the end of the summer, early fall time. So like I said, I don't anticipate it, but I mean, I just wouldn't feel comfortable saying that, guarantee
First
that.
increase in how long?
It's been, I mean, a couple years.
Couple years, okay.
So one camera, and obviously 4 would be where I'd recommend council, but 1 camera gives us access to the system, and that allows us to share with our partners and have access to theirs as well. 4. So 4 is definitely where I'd recommend, and then we can always bring it back to council identify those funds, make a presentation to DDA, and see if they're willing to come back, and we could bring it back to council.
Chief, 4 is the minimum to access the software?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. I'm comfortable with Chief Shakinis' recommendation. He knows our community. He knows the ingress and the egress is where most of the possible crime could come from. So I believe 4 would be a good number to start with.
If there's going to be a motion, Mayor, I'd recommend the motion approve the maximum amount for a contract to be executed by the manager, that'd be me. And the money will come out of general fund until supplemented by the DDA. With that proviso, I will go to the DDA at the next meeting and see what they can vote for us to help us out. Either way, it's our money, DDA or whatever, but it'll be funded out of the general fund.
I'll make the motion to approve an amount to Flock Safety not to exceed the 4 cameras plus the implementation fee of the 4 and the annual reoccurring contract after year 1 in the amount equal to 4 cameras, not to exceed, and giving our administration, our city manager, the authority to make that happen.
You got that motion?
I got it.
Osnick will second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any further discussion? Sounds like we're ready for a roll call.
Fernandez,
Yes.
Locke, Lublin,
Yes.
Osnick,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Ackley,
Yes.
Ambrose.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, council. Look forward to reporting back to you on how these are doing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll now open it to our meeting to audience participation. Is there anyone in the audience or?
If there are any audience members attending electronically, please press *9 to activate the raise hand feature and *6 to unmute. If there are any audience members attending in person, you have 3 minutes to address council. Please state your name and address. Madam Mayor, it doesn't look like any audience participation this evening.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of the regular council meeting of February 20th, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve?
Lublin will make the motion to approve the minutes last
sir.
month.
Is there a second?
Fernandez, support.
Okay, we have a motion, we have support. Any discussion on the minutes? Roll call, please.
Locke, Lublin,
Yes.
Osnick,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Ackley,
Yes.
Ambrose,
Yes.
Fernandez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is a council report for any council member who is either sitting as a voting member on another board or has attended another board that they would like to make a
On the planning
report on.
commission, on the planning commission, we only had one item, and that was it was a public hearing for the item that's in in our packet. So
Okay.
it passed. We had no issues.
Much participation?
Yeah, there was no participation, there was no issues.
Okay, thank you.
I think Madam Fernandez had I think Mindy had her hand up next.
Hi.
I was going that way. I just wanted to make sure you were finished.
I was done.
Okay.
Parks and Rec didn't meet this month, but we have some great things going. We have the Easter egg hunt, which is March 30th at 11 a.m. at Sims Park. Should be a good time had by all. And then looking forward to the Memorial Day Parade on May 27th.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a library board report. And with the library millage renewal on today's agenda, I have a detailed report. These are some of the 2023 library statistics. There were 19,663 visitors. This is 2023. 57,164 checkouts. Our library collection has almost 26,000 physical items and over 300,000 digital items. Our website accesses were over 30,000. Computer and Wi-Fi uses close to 5,000. And we had 221 programs with over 2,300 attendees. And as compared to 2019, which is pre-COVID, the program attendance is up 33%. Physical circulation is up 31%. Digital circulation is up 103%. That makes sense because more people are, going online. Children's books remain the top circulating items. Audiobooks are the most used digital platform, which is like Libby and Hoopla. And our Walled Lake Library's large print collection is tops in the area. Our library renovation is complete. We have new vinyl plank flooring in our program area, which is great for cleanup. We have new carpeting throughout the entire library, carpet squares, which are good for replacement if needed. And we have a significant amount of shelving was replaced with open back design. The last couple of years, we've replaced numerous tables and chairs. We now have a modern vibe throughout our library. Recently, we upgraded our internet connection technology. We've purchased online access to many streaming services like Hoopla, which has 1.5 million items, and Libby, which has 270,000 accessible items. Our physical collection has been updated, which means we've removed the old items not being used so that we now have current relative materials. And all of our improvements have been completed with saved monies and no debt. And our current fund balance stands at a very healthy over 50% to 1 year of expenses. That's after all the monies that we've paid for all these improvements. And our library board, which consists of Barb Garbutt as our president, and Maureen Langen, Vi Osenik, Marge Schwartz, and Mort Abramowitz, they all deserve recognition for their excellent direction and care for our library. And Carrie Ralston, our library director, deserves recognition for her outstanding leadership. She completed all the improvements and renovations within budget, and she exercises that same due diligence with the library's everyday business. And most of all, she has created a warm, positive environment for her awesome team. We have a wonderful library, just like the rest of our great city service departments.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes.
No one else? Okay. The mayor has nothing that committee to report on tonight. We'll go on to the city manager's report.
Mayor, let's start with the consent agenda. I would request that council move to receive and file the consent agenda consisting of police, fire, finance, warrant, and code enforcement reports.
Woods will make the motion to accept.
Ambrose will second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Second on the agenda is the first of a couple of items that I want to give an update, a brief on, so that the viewing audience understands the entities that the city is connected with and connected to. I would start with the Resource Recovery Recycling Authority, or RSAC. They talk about that, but most people don't understand it's a separate authority. Our finance director, Ms. Pesta, is the treasurer for RSAC, our Recycling Authority, and I would like her to give us a quick update, not only for council, most of you have heard all of this before, but for the viewing audience. Ms. Pesta.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I would like to discuss, as we enter into our next season, we are coming up to spring. So starting as of the first Wednesday in April, we will be beginning our yard waste collection yet again. And also through RSOC, we do our household hazardous waste. Our first event scheduled for 2024 will be April 13th, and that drop-off point will be at the City of Wixom, DPW, which is located off of Charms Road. We also did discuss some business towards the end of last year with GFL, our current refuse company. We do expect to have our new contract in full effect for our next fiscal year, and we will be discussing that further in our budget workshops, the city manager's budget workshops coming up in the next couple weeks. So those are some of the changes to expect and the 2024 schedule. If you have any other questions, please let me know. I did put the full 2024 schedule for household hazardous waste as part of your packet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
While you're there, mention that budget thing. Remind everybody when our first budget meeting,
Yes.
city manager's budget session is.
The city manager's first budget workshop is this Saturday, here at City Hall at 10 a.m.
Woo-hoo.
Yes,
You're
What
all
time is
excited
that
to go
again?
to that.
10 a.m.
Coffee and donuts.
Of
That's what
course.
we're gonna have. You,
Of course, always will.
The egg stuffing,
We'll follow the budget workshop. We're going to keep you here, put you to work.
That's all right.
Okay,
Third on the agenda, Madam Mayor, is I want to give you an update about our transportation program for our residents. So Ms. Jakeway, who's been a member of our board, most recent board, and she's an alternate nowadays. So Ms. Jakeway, will you give us an update on WODA, what we call WODA?
Sure. I'll provide a little bit of history and background on our transportation services. So as council all knows, we provide transportation services for our residents in Walled Lake. Originally, it was administered through SMART, the Suburban Mobility Authority for Regional Transportation. We partnered with them to do our transportation in and out of the city, while the front office handled the dispatch services for SMART. Over the years, the program expanded and dispatch services became very cumbersome for the front office. In addition to all the other roles that we play in the front office. So as the program grew, we partnered through an interlocal government agreement with Highland Township in 2018 to have them do our dispatch services for Walled Lake. We found it to be very successful, and we found that other municipalities in the lakes area also had an interest in partnering to do the transportation services. So through Highland Township, we now have what is called WODA, Western Oakland Transportation Authority, who administers our dispatch and our ridership and all of the services for Walled Lake residents for our transportation. With the passing of the transit millage in 2022, we've seen an increase in ridership, participation, and other municipalities in Oakland County in the Northwest region join into WODA and have an interest in the services that they provide. So we've been going to the meetings and staying on top of what the authority is doing, and making sure we're well aware of how that program continues to expand.
Yeah, let me add to that. The authority is part of the county improvement. The county's looking to get into the business a little different than having individual authorities doing that. It's a slow process, and it's kind of like going to a sausage factory. You may not want to see it while they're making it. Hopefully, when it ends, it'll be as tasty as some of the sausages I've had. Right now, there's some bumps in the road about how they're doing business. Seems to be the normal process when they're trying to consolidate. Right now, we're dealing with WODA. We're hoping that the county reaches down and does their job and makes it a county-wide authority of some sort. So we're still in that process. We will be reporting back to you about what that's costing the city of Walled Lake, the citizens of Walled Lake, and that. So as that develops, we'll report that back to you as well. Another entity that we deal with that the mayor's been involved with almost the entire time she's been on city council for all those years. Is called WOCA, not WODA, WOCA. And Ms. Jakeway is going to give us a short brief on WOCA.
Another authority that the city is involved in but also manages is the Western Oakland County Cable Communications Authority. They are an advisory board established to promote and encourage cable communication services to the residents of Walled Lake and other participating municipalities. WOCA currently serves 6 municipalities and 2 school districts, including Highland Township, Milford Township, City of Wixom, Commerce Township, Walled Lake, White Lake Township, and Walled Lake Consolidated School District, and the Huron Valley Schools. WOCA is an advisory board that meets quarterly to provide an opportunity for public engagement regarding the PEG fees and the cable communication services. For folks who may not know what PEG fees are, they stand for the public, educational, and governmental channels and fees that Comcast collects on behalf of the city. We receive quarterly checks from Comcast as they collect the PEG fees for us. Pursuant to the Uniform Video Services Local Franchising Act of 2006, Comcast is authorized to collect the fees and then give them to the city, which we administer and reimburse the school district for some of their video fees or video enhancements and some of the technology that they use for the school district, for the schools, and some of the recording opportunities that they provide to the city. For example, they've helped us, at least Walled Lake Television, they've recorded our ribbon cutting ceremony next door at the public safety campus. They've also done our Memorial Day parade. They've been very helpful for promoting and getting the word out on what Walled Lake is doing and providing those services for the municipality, but also for our residents. Since 2021, Walled Lake has been the collector and the administrator of WOCA. And historically speaking, as I've mentioned, we use these fees to reimburse the school districts. As of February 21st, WOCA currently has over $1.2 million in their in the bank. And we expect to be meeting in April to discuss this calendar year, but also what the schools may need for reimbursement.
I think that covers it for now. We will be revisiting WOCA, just like we do the other entities. WOCA collects a lot of money. It seems to be that the money is going to specific places while they're overlooking other requests. So we'll be dealing with that and bringing it back to council. Council makes a decision of where their PEG fees are going. Other cities have thought about pulling out of WOCA because they weren't responsive as a body. That shifted back because the school got involved politically, and so they shifted back. The school districts have no problem with submitting bills and getting reimbursed. We weren't as lucky to be reimbursed for the stuff we asked for so quickly. They had to take it under consideration. So until that gets resolved, what I've got under consideration is why we are continuing to commit whatever PEG fees we're getting as a city to a body that has $1 million in the bank. So that may be revisited here, and the city council has a tough call there in the future. Do we continue to do that if they're not responsive in that way? So that's it on the entities we got. Now we want to talk about some city events.
Wait 1 second.
Wait. Oh,
Yes, go ahead.
I have, just
What to
for
make-
clarification on the WOCA, the cable companies collect money on our
Yes.
behalf, and it stays with WOCA, and then they decide who they're gonna give it to, or, you know, it has to be used for certain purposes, and they're not helping us with some of our desires?
PEG, public education government. For instance, when we just put new cameras in so we can go public and be transparent, and we asked for reimbursement from WOCA, what was the response? Either one of you can,
They said they would have to create a subcommittee to have discussions about
they
it.
got a subcommittee, but when the
To
school
my
board,
knowledge, the
any school board
subcommittee
asks for
hasn't met.
money, they immediately vote yes. I don't see the difference.
Is there a way to have that funds come directly to our budget? And for
Ms.
us-
Pesta, why don't you explain to the accountant how easy that is? Shit.
It stays with us when it comes to us.
Right, so I'm saying.
Yep.
And we could elect to remove ourselves from WOCA, and then the funds would come directly
No.
to us?
No. We have some communities that have dropped out of WOCA, and we receive a separate check every year.
Correct. Every community
and if you
has
drop
their own
out-
check, yes.
Then you lose that check every year. You no longer are part of it. You still have your cable service, but you have no vote on WOCA and you don't get any of the money. Now, we vote on WOCA is to distribute the money to the two schools for their programs. Now, we've got a request pending, which was also supposed to go to the committee that's never met, because Huron Valley is asking for, what, 70-some thousand dollars back to 2021 for overseeing the PEG fees. Now, Wall Lake Schools doesn't get anything for overseeing the PEG fees, nor have they asked for it. And I'm not quite sure where Huron Valley's coming from, and we haven't had a subcommittee or a meeting on that to know. I don't know what they're overseeing in the PEG fees, because the money comes into the community and it's distributed to the different, or it comes into Wall Lake and is distributed to the communities, and that's what they get each year. But if you drop out, you don't get that. So I don't know.
Do we receive a check yearly from WOCA?
We were, for administering the fees, like, what do you,
Any check? Do
we receive quarterly checks from the 6 municipalities for their PEG fees that are deposited into the bank. We should be receiving an administration reimbursement, but that has yet to be
We haven't gotten that
discussed.
We
yet
haven't gotten
either.
that.
So, the point is that the whole thing needs to be reviewed. If it were me, I would call the Auditor General and have them audit what they're doing at WOCA, audit what they're doing at WODA. But it appears that I won't be able to call the Auditor General anytime soon because the governor just gutted $87 million out of his budget, so that the Auditor General, who is the only entity in the state of Michigan who is probably bipartisan, who doesn't have an axe to grind, are the ones that catches all the fraud and all of that, but it's being gutted by the governor, who won't respond. The governor says, call my budget office. At any rate, so I'm giving up on the Auditor General getting involved, if indeed that was his responsibility. But we'll have to flush out the issues here, the politics of WOCA, the politics of WODA. We're a small city. We're not supposed to make noise. That's not how it works. We get to make noise. I saw somebody over there laughing because that council member knows them. I'm dead right.
Dead right,
Am I dead right?
dead right.
Call me out if I'm wrong.
No.
How
I
do
have
you
more to say about
gut,
that, but I won't.
how do you gut the only entity in state of Michigan that keeps people straight?
And who literally today just had a scathing report against the LCC, the Liquor Control Commission.
I think that's the old, some of you know that I served as a county auditor, internal auditor for 6 years. And so you learn about internal corruption and stuff of entities and governments and all that. And you know, I found it when I found ghost employees because of the people, but getting rid of your Auditor General or whatever, their Comptroller General, whatever they're called to do the auditing is a serious mistake, and that's just not the way to go about it. But I guess if you need the money somewhere else, I don't know. Anyway, let's go into.
I'm sorry, I have one more question. On that, on the WOCA, is Comcast the only vendor that we use?
For wall, yes,
For cable.
yes.
We're going to report back on that. You know, this is more complicated than I've made it tonight. I mean, it's a lot more complicated in terms of what we got. But any entity like that that has $1 million in the bank and they can't take care of what we got, this, we believe, fits within the scope of that. Some of people are getting the quick fix, but it has to do with people on the board who just either don't care or don't get it. They went for years. I don't think they had meetings. It's just not been handled right through the years. It doesn't mean there's corruption. It just means there's lack of confidence, perhaps, or lack of concern or interest, and the money keeps piling up. Because we administer it here, Ms. Bakeway takes checks to the bank pretty regular. When we inherited that, when it passed to the city to do the administration of it, there was I guess a caveat that $10,000 for administration of it. We've been doing it since how long, Mayor?
Going on 4
21,
years.
I think.
21. We haven't gotten any of that, but that's not the issue for me. The issue for me is, why couldn't we get that resolved? We either get it or we don't. I need a subcommittee by some other entity to decide if they were going to pay for what broadcast to the public. That makes no sense. There's a subcommittee. That's what you always send it to committee if you want to kill it. So anyway, we probably should move on, right, Mayor? City events, the council member, she brought up the egg hunt, so let's talk about that. Ms. Jakeway.
Yep, so we do have our egg stuffing this Saturday at 1 p.m. And then as Councilmember Fernandez mentioned, the egg hunt is scheduled for the 30th at the end of the month at Hiram Sims Park. We're looking to have kettle corn food truck is going to be on site, as well as face painting by our one and only Miss Loretta Witt. She'll be doing complimentary face painting. We will also be having a magic show directly after the egg hunt. And it should be a good time, maybe a little on the chillier side, but it's always a great turnout. And we're excited to kick off our 2024 recreational events.
And egg stuffing is on
This Saturday.
Saturday. So
Correct.
if you're interested in visiting out.
So the Easter egg hunt.
Yes.
We like to call it the
I know,
spring egg hunt.
Easter egg hunt. Nothing wrong with Easter.
Following the egg hunt, we'll be moving into our marketplace next door. Opening day is scheduled for May 1st, that first Wednesday of May. Miss Hall, as you may all know, she runs the marketplace. She helps out in the front office as well as in our police department. So she'll be continuing to oversee that. And we've already received a few applications back, but we're looking to continue to expand the marketplace next door. We found that the change in hours last season from 8 to 2 was very beneficial for the vendors, but also it gave folks just an extra hour in the afternoon to come by and check out the market. We found also that the opening of the pedestrian bridge has been very beneficial as well. A lot of bikers come through pretty regularly, so it's good to see that being utilized. Following the marketplace at the end of May, as Ms. Fernandez mentioned, we have our Memorial Day Parade. So we're excited and in preparation for that right now. I would like to defer to our Deputy Public Safety Director for some input.
I do. We also have the, before we get started, Saturday, the Passion for Life 4K is downtown. That's an annual event. So our police officers and firefighters will be downtown. Do you mind if I give a real quick update on our B&E suspect? while we're at it?
No, stand up and do that, though.
Okay, all right.
Should be fun, right?
So this July I'll be with the city for 23 years, and every so often we have ourselves a small town crime spree. Unfortunately, this year we started off with one, and the end of January 27th, we had a suspect who, through surveillance video, and again utilizing the technology that's out there, cased the Suburban Exchange. Some people call it a pawn shop. It's not quite a pawn shop, but on Pontiac Trail, South Commerce. The next night, that individual came back, busted in the window, came in 29 seconds, stole several laptops, iPads, and was gone. Chris McQueen, our officer out here, was actually at the LaFontaine lot, which is next door. From the time that he drove from there, the suspect had already fled. We were unable to locate him. That turned it into the following Monday. That same suspect broke into Dan's Auto, into their storage lot, broke into multiple vehicles, and stole a lot of personal items out of there. And that's where the crime spree started. That suspect, through video, we found returned back to Dan's 5 times. And Proscape, which is just outside of town, we're in their yard. It's a landscaping just on Maple, just outside of town, 3 times. We also found out that this suspect broke into 2 businesses in West Bloomfield and the public storage lot. Our officers took it very personal, along with our businesses. Several of the business owners were pretty upset. They came together, Facebook page, were sharing info. We worked with them very, very closely. Obviously, Walled Lake's a small town. We know who all these people are, who the businesses are. Our officers spent a lot of time, and they set up, and they caught the suspect breaking into Dan's Auto, into the yard. Tried to take him into custody, fled back into the swampy area, the wetland that's kind of back there between there and Eagle Pond. We weren't able to locate him that night. And the next morning, returned back there, he returned back to collect his stuff. We were able to arrest him on scene, and he's been charged. 32-year-old Terrence Brown of West Bloomfield in Detroit. His parents apparently own a business in West Bloomfield to reside there. He lives in a halfway house in Detroit. Somebody was supposed to be watching him. Nobody was. He was on a bicycle. I know, how did this happen so many times? It's extremely hard, even in a small town, to catch people who are on foot, on bicycles. But our officers were out there and vigilant, and within a month, we had him in custody, and he's been charged with multiple felonies. We're working with our partners in West Bloomfield and Commerce to seek charges on him as well, because Dan's auto, their damages were in the tens of thousands. So obviously we took that very seriously, and happy to see he's in custody. So following on with the public safety theme, there's Ms. Shekels, we hand out. I authored a memorandum to the city manager, and I'd like to share it with city council.
Thank you.
So Flock wouldn't have helped on
You know what?
catching our guy.
I was actually thinking about that. I don't know whether Flock would pick up the bicycle or not. That's a question I'm going to have to ask
Look on their
Mayor.
website, it does.
Does it?
If you look on their website, it does. Pick up on bicycles.
So
Two
Man-
things about that. Let me add to the chief's response on the bad guy. He returned to the scene of one of the crimes, and the police officer there, and the chief indeed was walking in the business because the proprietor was very upset that nothing had happened. And when he got there, they actually arrested him in the presence of the victim. So that was a pretty an amazing scene that he even went back. But what the chief didn't mention or left out was that in his backpack that they recovered, he had a taser. He had a taser in his backpack, and he had a handwritten note that said, "Give me all your money from the cash register. I've been watching you for 2 weeks." It doesn't take the rocket scientist to know that he was getting ready or had already robbed somebody. Robbery being different than breaking in a window and going in. Robbery is when he's threatening you, use of force or force. So he either was an aspiring robber or he had already done it. But you don't write out a note to yourself and put it in your backpack if you're not going to use it. So anyway, that go back to your concerns, Chief.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about another public safety thing. So would it be appropriate to read this or just have a discussion?
You handle it any way you want. You're the deputy public safety director, police chief, fire chief, and
Or whatever
Which
happens
hat
to be.
is today?
Yeah. Let me read this to council, so obviously anybody online knows what you're seeing. Authored a memo today. Recently, there have been some discussion from the city council and Parks and Recreation Board on the parade route, Memorial Day parade route, actually, returning to downtown instead of the Ladd Maple location at the Walled Lake Schools Administration Building for the starting location. Both the police department and fire department administration believe that the safety of the participants and spectators is better at the current starting location instead of returning downtown. In an age where large public gatherings can be a target for people wanting to cause harm to as many people as possible, the current route offers much more safety and is easier contained. We also feel that the current route allows for more people to get into town and out of town in a more organized fashion. Unloading and loading participants downtown has always been difficult at best. Overall, the parade route, starting at the Walled Lake Schools Administration Building, is a safer route. And the reason I bring this up is I know there's been some discussion, and I know there's going to be some different opinions. But last month, the Super Bowl parade in Kansas City, that happened to be a shooting where 22 people were injured and 1 person was killed. In February of 2023, at the Mardi Gras parade, 1 person was killed, 5 people were injured. That happened to be a shooting. November 2021, Washika, Wisconsin, at a Christmas parade, where an individual drove an SUV into a crowd. 60 people were injured and 6 people were killed. I know we can say it never happened in Walled Lake, but it can happen anywhere. And I know that's obviously some extreme models across the country with millions of people, but I don't want Walled Lake to be on the news for something like that. I'm asking council to review and look at maintaining our current location, starting at the Walled Lake Schools Administration Building. The reason for that is, yes, half of the parade route is the same from Maple down here to the City Hall, the Public Safety Campus. The section downtown has multiple driveways, multiple roads. It's extremely difficult to control that traffic. The reason there's a police car up front is not because the police are leading the parade. The flag and the flag bearers are the number one in the parade. The police car is up front to stop any individual from plowing into that parade. That's the reason. I don't know if anybody's aware of that. That would be my worst fear, and that's why I'm presenting it to council for some discussion.
Chief, you made your point. It'll be up to 4 votes of the council.
Okay, thank you, sir.
They choose to vote tonight, that's fine. We'll wait till April. Thank you.
Thank you, council.
I personally
Thank
have
you.
no problem with leaving it the way it is. Starting at the school administration building, like the chief says, it is easier to contain any side traffic. There are no the only major side traffic is on Pontiac Trail. That's it.
Sometimes what's easiest is not always what is the best or the way that the people, our citizens, want it. A lot of people are not attending the parade because of the change of the route. Walking or riding, whatever I've done in that parade, I can see where the count, I believe the count is down. I don't think the public is coming out like they were. I understand there might be a little bit more enforcement involved. There's no way that we're gonna stop somebody if they wanna ram a crowd, whether it's on Maple or whether it's on Pontiac Trail. If somebody wants to do something like this, they're gonna do it wherever these people gather at. I was against it when we moved it. I understood because of the construction, and I was told at that time, it's only because of the construction and we'll go back. If you go out and you talk to the public and hear what they want, the people that are in this community, they want to see the parade come back to the downtown area. I know it's might be a little bit harder to organize. I organized it for a lot of years down there. It takes a little bit of maneuvering and a little bit more work, but I just do not want to see it continue the way it's been the last couple of years. I think it's downplayed our parade greatly. I have to disagree with you on that, Chief. And I'm not looking at, I believe you've got the public safety at heart, but I truly believe these areas you're talking about are Main Street areas where this stuff has happened too. So it could happen on the side streets, it could happen on the main streets. If some nut idiot or whatever you want to call them is out there wanting to do something like that, they're going to find a way to get to the people to do it. You know it, and I know it. I'm just dead set against going back to the way we've done it the last 2 years, but I'm only one of 7. I'll be there wherever you do it, but I won't like it.
I guess I'll make my opinion known. I think that public safety is important, but I believe the residents want to see it the old way. I do believe that. From what I've been told, what I've heard, what I feel, residents liked it the old way much more than the new way. But public safety and craziness, is definitely a factor, and I'm not gonna, negate that, but I think our residents want it the way it was.
Happy to make my opinion known as well. In case anybody doesn't know, Casey's of Walled Lake happily announces the parade each year. When prior years, when that parade has taken takes that turn, it becomes very difficult to know who is coming before they appear right in front of you for announcement. And then 2, I don't believe there has been a less amount of people. I own a business that becomes very busy during that time. And we've only seen increases in our numbers of clients that have come into the business, the restaurant. So I don't believe it has gotten smaller. I have heard back and forth on people's opinions, but I do believe public safety is most important.
I wouldn't mind if the council made a call tonight. We've only got next month to think about it. We're going to go where 4 people say, any 4. I support the chief's position to keep it where it is. My experience when I'm in the street is not the same as the mayor's, and it's not the same as Councilmember Lublin. Some people don't want it downtown, and I've had that for 14 years. The people who want it have different agendas. The people who don't want it are the people who live down there and about and all that. So I think it's a matter of perspective, but 4 people tell us we're going to do it. If you vote tonight, if you tell us where to do it, I'd be pretty happy about that. And then we start making a plan to do it downtown. If you're going to keep it where it's at, I'll be happy with that too. But I'm going to support the chief and the fire chief, and the Public Works Department feels the same way. They've come to me with the same issues. But I've also advised them that the city council gets to call this one.
I think we need to make that decision tonight.
I'd appreciate a motion
You want
of
to make?
any kind,
We
negative,
have a-
I
positive.
think we need to make it tonight so that they can start making their plans. Seems only fair.
He's looking at me. Okay, I'll make the motion that we leave it the way it is in the interest of public safety and efficiency.
Ambrose will second it.
Any other discussion? I don't think so.
You could start all over again. You can say it again.
I think we all have our
Opinion.
opinions.
Yes.
We usually do. I think we'll have a roll call vote.
Yes, ma'am. Osnick,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Ackley,
No.
Ambrose,
Yes.
Fernandez,
Yes.
Locke, Lublin.
Doesn't really matter, but I vote no.
Important.
I vote no.
Thank
It
you.
always matters, Bennett.
Who
Well,
said
and
we
that
always?
particular 4 had already approved it. So,
Who said we always agree on everything?
This is not a new discussion. The chief and I have been having it for 2 years now.
No,
So-
this is a tough one.
Yeah,
This is a tough one, and then there's benefits
You've,
on
you've
both
solved our
angles.
problem, which is where do we go from here? And time is short. So I appreciate you making the motion and getting that behind us. And one more thing that I've got under my report, we're still under that, believe it or not. I would like Mr. Ladd to step up and tell us all about the street lights that we've got. When the flock guy was here talking about, and somebody asked about they get knocked down or stuff like that, we can't seem to keep our street lights up. He bought 10 and we already short 5. So start from the beginning. But I'm going to tell them about the sign you got up today. Anybody notice the Ladd, the new sign up on Ladd and Maple
Yes.
with the
I
3D?
drove by.
Did you see it? Did you get to see it?
Oh.
You switched them out. You put the other one over there.
Yes, that's correct. We
And
took the
the
one.
the
from
damaged
Ladd
one
Road.
was over where Councilmember Fernandez pointed out. It's like, what? You know, that's the drunk parked on it with a really nice Mustang and destroyed it.
No longer
They got
nice.
it done, but we switched it out. So if you take a look at that, that's got a 3D seal on it that matches what's out here, only it's colored. 3D, it's an outside seal. I bought that a couple of years ago, but you get distracted, didn't finish. Our mission will be to get the rest of them looking similar, but the 3D seal kicks it up a notch. So tell them about the streetlights. Everybody up here is wondering what's happening to our streetlights and where they're going, you know?
Right, okay, so a little over a year ago, DDA offered to fund the 10 streetlights, so, because we have a very difficult time acquiring them. It takes well over a year to get them, so they decided to buy 10 of them so we'd have some in stock. At that time, we had 2 that were hit, that we needed to put new ones up. Now we have 5 that have been hit, so we've already depleted half of the light poles that we just received last week. They're a little different. There's some design things that are a little different. They just don't make them the way they used to. The original molds from all the streetlights that we have been lost. The company was sold. They scrapped all the material that was in the building, so the molds are not available anymore. But they have some that's very close. It's just we have to do a few modifications to make them work. So we did install one. It's at in front of La Fontaine on South Pontiac Trail, Pontiac Trail in South Commerce. So you can take a look at it. It's lit up. It's up. And working with the company, they're going to be out Thursday, so I can go through everything with them. The lights are just a little bit different, but I'll probably be the only one that notices it. So hopefully nobody else will notice and they'll look great.
And my council members will notice.
Yeah, now we will.
Well, they actually look really good because they're brand new. So, and that's about it on the lights.
I don't know who's going to tell the story about the guy who drove down the trail and took out the.
Took out a bollard.
Oh, yeah.
The bollard.
Dan, tell us about that.
Okay, so Sunday night, somebody got on the trailway somewhere between here and Pontiac Trail and drove east to Decker Road, drove right through the bollard on the center of the trailway, took it out. We still haven't located the bollard. Then they hit the crossing sign, the flashing hawk light, and took that out. So we've been working to find a company to.
They drove the distance?
They drove his car?
The car down the trailway.
Well, they thought it was a road?
Sunday night, what was Sunday night? St. Patrick's?
So now we need a camera on the trail.
The suspect was located, he had fled on foot and was arrested. Little good news. We have his insurance information as well.
He fled on foot too?
It's a good thing we have his insurance because it's $10,000 to replace that light.
Was he impaired?
He was impaired.
Okay.
And my recommendation to the chief also was to not put the flocks on any streetlights.
Thank you, Dan.
I was wondering about that.
Madam Mayor, you can have it back. My
I can
reports
have
are
it back?
my reports are over with.
Okay. Do we have any correspondence this evening?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay. The attorney report, and he has a request to go into executive session. At this time, I would ask one of my fellow council members to make a motion that the city council meet in closed session under Section 8E of the Open Meetings Act to consult with our city attorney regarding trial settlement strategy in connection with the Lloyd Curitan versus City of Wall Lake lawsuit.
Osnick will make that motion.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay. we have a
Mayor,
motion, we have
let
a-
me add to that, the only people in closed session will be myself and the recording secretary.
Okay,
And we'll do that at the end.
we
of the
all get to
meeting?
go home and you two are gonna sit here.
Madam Mayor, do you want to move that to the end of the meeting or have it?
Yes, at the end of the meeting.
Don't expect, Mayor, I don't expect there's any kind of votes going to come out of that, so when we have to rise from the meeting, but then the meeting will be over with, so we'll finish up that night, so it shouldn't take too long. Counselor?
Yeah, we'll do it at the end.
I'll be
so
brief.
everybody
Please be
doesn't have to- We should be finished pretty quick and go into it, but anyways, we'll do it at the end. Roll call, please.
Yes, ma'am. Woods,
Yes.
Ackley,
Yes.
Ambrose,
Yes.
Fernandez,
Yes.
Locke, Lublin,
Yes.
Osnick.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Attorney, do you have anything else other than your request?
No, I have no items for the open session.
I just didn't want to buzz on over you. If you had
I
something.
appreciate that.
Let you know we appreciate you. There's no unfinished business. We'll move to new business. It looks like the flock safety proposal we've already taken care of. Proposal for the contract to renew Boss Engineering. Who's going to address that?
Let's go over that.
It looks like Boss Engineering is, wanting to formalize their contract with us. We've been doing Boss Engineering since I got here, since 14 years, and they predate me. I don't believe we're in a position to go out and change engineers right now. I don't think that's in our best interest. We have no guarantee that that makes a better contract than what they're offering. So the contract itself is, it spells out their fees and all that, and they're consistent with surrounding areas. We recommend that we execute, you authorize me to execute the contract with Boss. Again, I'm not big on changing consultants. That turns into a job all by itself, and it doesn't necessarily save money. You do have the option of rejecting that contract and then going out to essentially request for quotes for professional services. But I recommend that you approve the contract or approve me signing the contract and engaging Boss.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Ambrose seconds.
Okay, we have a motion, we have support. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ambrose,
Yes.
Fernandez,
Yes.
Locke, Lublin,
Yes.
Osnick,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Ackley.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I lost my agenda here when I was shuffling papers. Where the heck did the end of it go? Thank you. Did you take that? Oh,
You can borrow mine.
must have just jumped on me. Okay, next would be the proposed resolution to defer special meeting requirements for budget presentation and adoption.
Lublin will propose the resolution rescheduling the fiscal year budget presentation special council meeting of Monday, May 20th, 2024 to the regular council meeting of Tuesday, May 21st, 2024, and to reschedule the special council meeting for budget adoption on Monday, June 17th, 2024 to the regular council meeting of Tuesday, June 18th, 2024 at 7:30 PM. That being proposed resolution 2024-05.
5.
Ambrose will second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Fernandez,
Yes.
Locke, Lublin,
Yes.
Osnick,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Ackley,
Yes.
Ambrose.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next would be for the library millage renewal resolution. Do I have a motion?
Osnick will make that motion. A resolution to approve a ballot proposal for the library millage renewal for a period of 10 years, beginning with the July 2025 levy and ending with the July 2034 levy. This being resolution number 2024-6.
Lublin supports.
A motion support. Any discussion?
Mayor, I'd like to point out that my staff, myself and Ms. Jakeway, Ms. Pesta attended the library board meeting on Friday. We had a pretty good meeting with staff. Councilmember Lublin was present as well. We walked through it with them about what they were asking for, what they were looking for. They wanted to be on the next ballot in August to renew their millage. Staff, they weren't prepared for that. They didn't have everything they needed, but we came back over here and the two ladies sitting across from you prepared a resolution for the library board. We completed that, took it back, and they executed that. So what you had in your packet is the resolution from the library board that tells us as council members and administration what they wanted to do, and that's the system. So when we came back over here, we found out that it needs some tweaking. They drafted another resolution, drafted it for the city attorney, who then tweaked it to make it do what we needed to do. So he may or may not want to speak about that, but we have the new resolution for you, the city council resolution that gets it on the ballot in August.
Yes.
So, and that's about all I got. Bennett, you don't want to add anything to that? It's this sets them on their path to renew the millage for 10 years, and
I explained to them on the board that I'll be here in 10 years to help them do the one in next 10 years, so.
Very good.
That's ha, ha, ha. Anyway, council, is there anything that you need to be said about the resolution?
I passed, it was handed out right before the meeting.
Did you give one to the city?
Okay,
Sorry.
all right, all right. I was looking for it in the packet. That was the only real
like
question I had.
Is 10 years a normal?
Yes, I,
Process.
We had a library millage in 2014. I was here then. Prior to that, so this is the second mill. They're allowed to do up to 2. It's kind of a complicated process.
Figured.
It's a Michigan thing, I think.
Okay.
So this is a renewal, but how you fashion that and how it looks, it's important when you put it on the ballot so that the election department passes on it. The attorney did our legal work, and I think what you have will work. I think he's finally tweaked it. That's his final draft, isn't it? Or yeah.
yeah. The main thing I focused on was the language of the ballot proposal itself. The library board wanted it to go back to a full mill, and then with Headley, it gets rolled back year by year. So once you get to the end of it, it's less than what you started with. So I did go through, revise the language of the ballot proposal itself, so that it said legally what it needed to say in order to get the full mill, if it passes.
For the entire 10 years.
You want it's a renewal. It'll start at 1 mill. But it will be rolled back per Headley over the course of those 10 years. There's no, you can go back to the voters periodically to get it reset back to the full mill before the millage expires, before the 10 years expires. But that would require a separate ballot proposal at a later date, and that would have to go back to the voters.
Okay.
And this renewal is necessary to maintain, it's a renewal and it's necessary to maintain our library. Without it, the library would not exist.
Yeah, the point is, the reason I gave that extra discussion is to the extent that you compared the library board's resolution, which you drafted without legal review, we drafted to get their intent, and their intent was to get it on the ballot. And so so there is a little bit of a difference there, just a tad. So if you compared them, you saw that. But the one that counts is the one you're going to pass tonight, presumably. I believe there's going to be 7 votes, but that's the one that was important. And the intent of the library board will be not in their resolution, but also in their minutes. So we're ready for you to vote on that.
Roll call, please.
Thank you. Locke, Lublin,
Yes.
Osnick,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Ackley,
Yes.
Ambrose,
Yes.
Fernandez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next is the resolution regarding the charitable gaming license for Wall Lake Civic Fund Corporation. As I understand, this is just a matter of wording that it came back to us.
Ms. Jakeway?
Sure. So as you all know, the Wall Lake Civic Fund Corporation has helped us in the past with our fireworks celebration, our summer festival that we host in June. Mr. Johnson does sit on our DDA board as a member. He's been very vocal and helpful about improving our downtown district, as well as ways that the Wall Lake Civic Fund can contribute to our recreational events and DDA events. When he presented the resolution that we passed in 2020 for them to do the fundraising, the Bureau of the Michigan Lottery Bureau there was a discrepancy with the wording. They need the full authority's name in the resolution. So we just needed to adjust it to say the Wall Lake Civic Fund Corporation. So just a little bit of tweaking in regards to wording. But Mr. Johnston has been a great member of our DDA board and a great contributor to a lot of our city events.
Woods will make the motion to approve a resolution of the City Council and of the City of Walled Lake providing acknowledgement of the Walled Lake Civic Fund Corp. as a recognized organization operating in the city.
Thank you.
Again, Resolution 2024-07.
Fernandez,
07.
second.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Lublin,
Yes.
Osnick,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Ackley,
Yes.
Ambrose,
Yes.
Fernandez,
Yes.
Block. Thank you.
Okay, next item is the amendment to Chapter 51 regarding impervious surface regulations for single-family lots. What is the pleasure of council?
Osnick will make the motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number C 373-24. An ordinance to amend Chapter 51 zoning of the Title 5 zoning and planning, the City of Walled Lake zoning ordinance to amend Article 17.00 Schedule of Regulations, Section 17.02 Notes to Schedule of Regulations by amending the wording of subsection M, impervious surface in single-family districts as provided by this ordinance.
Okay, is there any discussion or questions?
Was there a second?
We need a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I heard a second.
Woods will second.
Oh, okay.
Guess I was hearing things. Okay, now is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Osnick,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Ackley,
Yes.
Ambrose,
Yes.
Fernandez,
Yes.
Block, Lublin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that ends the business. We'll go into council comments, starting with Mindy.
I want to remind everybody that on May 7th, there is a bond proposal with the school. Go on to WLCSD.org, find out more. There's also on April 1st, 2024, will be a community information session where you'll be able to ask questions of the superintendent of the Walled Lake Schools, and that's going to be at 7 p.m. at Commerce Elementary. I want to thank everybody in the city for keeping us safe and making us look good for the DPW and the safety campus and all of our safety first responders. We want to say thank you.
Thank you. Bennett?
Just want to say that I appreciate the way the team works together, and everybody's doing their job, doing their part. That's why we have a great city.
Thank you. Casey?
I too just echo my fellow city council members. City looks great. Thank you, DPW. Safety is always priority, so thank you, Chief. On the fire side and the police side. Excited for our spring egg hunt, as well as our other City of Walled Lake events. That's what makes Walled Lake a great community. We're a small community, but we still have lake and small community right next to each other, so it's exciting times. We're excited for our get the ball rolling with the flock system. So I'm excited for that, and just the new developments that continue to keep coming to Walled Lake. People see the stuff that we're doing, staying financially stable, bringing good curb appeal to the city. So it's exciting stuff.
John?
I'd just like to remind everybody that after the meeting on Saturday for the budget, that there will be held a bunch of people that will be needed to stuff Easter eggs. That's all I have.
Okay. Ryan?
I agree with the same comments fellow council members have, and do appreciate everything that the city is working towards. But I want to point out the work that the police department did, and the extra effort, right, to catch a serial person, right. So appreciate the efforts and your work that you guys do.
Thank you. I have to echo my fellow council people. I think every time we drive a street in Wall Lake, I'm amazed at the improvements we're making and how much better the city looks every day, especially now that the snow's going away and it's turning green and the leaves are starting to come out. I just came over my phone, snow in the morning, but I hope that was for Alpena and not down here. It didn't say, but it is mighty cold out, but we won't hope for any snow. I would like to mention, and I should have gotten with the deputy clerk, city clerk, whoever I could have gotten with, and I didn't today before the meeting. But I do know we have some boards that are missing bodies or bodies that aren't showing up, and maybe they'll need to be coaxed a little bit to resign. But anyone out there that's listening and wants to get involved in the city, we'd love to have some new blood come forward. We've got the boards, and we'll find a place for you. And if you got a place picked out, we'll see if we can get you in that home, and we just need some help. There's a lot of people give a lot of their time, and we're asking for a few more people to volunteer. And I too have to commend our staff, and in my decisions tonight, in my comments are not against the staff. I know Paul knows this, but it's just sometimes we have some definite feelings, and that's just the way it is. And I think we're all here to protect the community and make it the best possible that we can. And I look forward to our Easter egg hunt. Even the stuffing eggs, I guess, is okay. If that's what Father John tells me we have to do, I guess that's what we have to do. So anyway, that's my comments for tonight. But everyone, even if you don't show up for Easter to stuff the eggs, I still hope you have a happy Easter, everyone out there. And at this time, we'll adjourn into executive session.
How long are we adjourning for, Mayor? 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
What?
We're going to recess
Recess, I'm sorry,
for 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
if you have to.
5 minutes at least.
Okay, thank you.
So moved.
Jeez.
Sounds like somebody needs to-
But you're paying, no, you are.
Cause I already knew.
Right,
We're all done?
Okay. Oh, we're alive.
You're live.
Madam Mayor, I would make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Ambrose will second.
Thank you.
Done.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let's get out of here.
Thank you.
So,
Good night,
Thank you.
everyone.
MCACA will drop it.